everyone, and welcome back to Women's Splain. Today we have a really exciting guest, some of my favorite topics as well. Bridgette, she is the founder of Harridan, as well as current COO of Lingua Franca, has a really amazing background. So I'm going to pass it over to her, give a little intro, and we'll dive into her story.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for having me. Big fans of both of you and Women's
Aw,
Plain.
oh,
So
we're so
it's
excited
We're
to
big
have you
fans of you,
on.
so
Yeah.
We're big
very
fans
honored.
of you. Yeah.
delighted to be here. So I founded Harridan Vodka in 2020. It was a little bit of a pandemic baby. It was something that I was in business school. Lockdown had just happened. I was making a ton of cocktails. And I was like, oh, it could be kind of fun to start one of these spirits companies. And vodka kind of stood out to me as an area that really hadn't had the same level of innovation that whiskey or tequila or gin had had. So it kind of was like, oh, this is the most boring spirit category. Why don't I try my hand there? And so started Harridan second year business school during lockdown. But I had already had a full-time offer at BCG lined up for post-business school. So actually, once I graduated, I was doing BCG during the day where I was specifically in the retail practice. And then I was moonlighting as this vodka founder. And it just got to the point about a year and a half in at BCG where it was totally unsustainable to be a consultant and then also be a founder. And it also got to the point where Harridan thankfully was doing well enough that it felt like I could really justify leaving my super secure day job and go into a job with no health insurance or promised steady salary, but it felt like the right decision. So made the leap. And so did Harridan / am still doing Harridan 5 years later. But it got to the point where Harridan was kind of in a really great, or is in a really great steady state where it's like, we've got these great clients, we've got a really good supplier. So we've got plenty of vodka to fulfill the demand that we have. So I just had extra capacity, like as a person and as someone who is always looking to explore new things, learn new things. It felt like it was a cool time to take on another responsibility. And at that point, I got approached by the founder of Lingua Franca, Rochelle Haruska, who's just incredible. And she was like, I need someone to really help me with the execution at my amazing small business. And so I was like, I've got the capacity. Why not take the jump? So I've been there for about 6 weeks now, which is awesome.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a full circle because I know you had a retail and fashion background after college as well before you went to business school. So tell us a little bit about where you started out your career and how you ended up at B school and why you decided to go into consulting after.
Yeah. So right after undergrad, I started my career off in financial services. I was actually covering retail stocks. So I was at Barclays and I was covering all these companies have now been acquired, but like I was covering Tiffany's before it was like bought by LVMH. I was covering Coach before it was a conglomerate. I was covering Kate Spade before it was acquired by Coach. So I really had this incredible coverage space. And that's where I really fell in love with retail, where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest coverage space. I don't really want to be telling investors whether to buy or sell these stocks. I really want to go be working for one of these companies and making the decisions that makes them a buy. And so I was still, excited and ready to learn at Barclays, but then I was recruited by Valentino to lead their CRM division,
Cool.
which
So
super
cool.
So it was kind of an opportunity, couldn't say no to. So left Barclays after about 2 years, went to Valentino. And what was so cool about my opportunity at Valentino was like that it basically had access to all of this customer data at a time when it was really at the forefront that companies were considering customer data valuable and like making strategic decisions based on customer data at hand. And so me and my team, we really were able to dive in and start making these recommendations to the CEO on types of company decisions that we should be making based on how our customers are shopping. And these were like early days of being like, we should do a lapsed customer initiative. Like that would probably have a really big impact. And testing those things out and seeing the sales come. And it was just, it was really, really exciting. So Wild West of CRM time, like 2014. And then the CEO of Valentino went to be CEO of Stuart Weitzman, and she asked me to go with her. And
Wow.
so,
Very cool.
yeah, very, very cool. She's incredible. So I left Valentino to go to Stuart Weitzman, where I was in a similar role, but expanded, where it was business strategy and consumer insights. So really kind of formalizing the importance that customer data has on forming broader corporate strategy. So I was, at Stuart Weitzman, loving it. But my aspiration in life, since those early days at Barclays, where I was hearing all of these CEOs and CFOs talk on earnings calls, I was like, I want to be a CEO. Like, I knew that very early on in my career, or that was my aspiration. And so the longer I worked at Stuart Weitzman as the head of the consumer insights business strategy team, I kind of started to realize at the time, I think this might be different now, but I was like, I don't know if this role becomes CEO. Like, this role right now feels like it's on track to be a VP of analytics or maybe a VP of strategy, but this doesn't feel like, at least to me, a CEO track. So I applied to business school with the amazing support of all my mentors and bosses at Stuart Weitzman, got into Harvard Business School, which was awesome. And so after going there, I was like, all right, or while I was at HBS, I was like, I'm going to get back on that CEO track. And if HBS kind of instills one thing into you, it's kind of like management consulting is the way to correct like all career not missteps, but like to get on whatever career track you want. So it was early on, I was like, all right, I feel like I should go into management consulting because I can do whatever I want from there, which wound up to be true, to the credit of management consulting.
Did you dabble in entrepreneurship at HBS at all?
No, I have always thought of myself as like a company woman. Like, I'm like, I like working for big companies, and I want to be CEO of like Ralph Lauren. That was what I had in my mind, because I don't speak another language and I wanted to stay in retail. And so it really narrows it down, like where you can really rise to the top. So if you had told me my first year at HBS that I would found a company, I would have laughed you out of the room. I was like, not for me.
That's amazing. Well, I want to unpack your experience in being like a banking analyst effectively to like a pretty high level executive, like strategic role. Because I remember being a banking analyst and I was like, oh my God, if I can't send an email without 5 sign-offs. Like, I make no decisions. So there are no decisions that are being made. So how did you kind of like, was it such a shock to you going from that sort of environment to being like, oh my God, I'm advising the CEO and I'm like 25? Like, what was that like?
Oh gosh. It was very, it's funny. I have such a distinct memory to that exact point of like one of my first meetings at Valentino, where I kind of came in, and the big takeaway from the analysis that I had done was that our loyal customers were performing very well, but our new customers were down a lot. And that was what was weighing. Like, our sales at the time were flat. And if you diced it up, it was like loyal customers up 20%, new customers down 20%. And so I came in and I was like, here is my report, and this is what is wrong with sales. And she just looked at me and she was like, okay, well, what are we going to do about it? And so that was like the first time that I had been challenged with like, I can't just come to the table with a problem. It has to be like, hey, here's what's wrong, and like, here's my proposal on what we're going to do. And in that specific example, the way that evolved is that new customers, at least in days that was like pre-social media advertising, like the craze that it is right now, at the time, it was like new customers are really, really, it's really hard to turn that trend around, because usually it's things that are outside of your control, or again, this 2014, that's how it felt. And in this specific instance, there were all of these currency fluctuations that were happening in 2014. I forget why, but I remember it was very difficult. And so our decline in new customers was driven by tourism sales being way down due to the dollar being super strong. And so the takeaway or the solution from this report was like, okay, we need to double down on our loyal customers and make sure that we are giving them an experience that they can't forget, that we're giving them a reason to come in, and let's put together a real loyalty program for these people to really drive up their spending. And attached to that was like, let's empower our store associates to be clienteling more and to be doing that one-on-one outreach that makes shopping at Valentino so special. And so from that conversation where she was like, what are you going to do about it? It kind of really instilled a lot of this creativity and kind of a like, all right, let's brainstorm, guys. Like, what can we do to fix this? And then the most rewarding part about that was like, I brainstormed with a couple of people like around the office and was like, what are some things we can do? Brainstormed with some store managers to be like, is this feasible to roll out these types of clienteling programs with your store associates? And when I got the sign off and I went to the CEO being like, okay, here's the plan, she was like, do it. And
Wow.
it's like, it was awesome. And so I think a little bit from that experience, I didn't realize it at the time, but set me up for entrepreneurship later of being
Definitely.
like, hey, if there's a problem, like
Yeah.
you got to do something about
Yeah.
it. And it was liberating to not have to
Yeah,
get like 5
no, and
Yeah.
sign-offs.
it's just like a really unique experience at that age as well. I think also clearly you had a really supportive environment. I feel like that's super special. Not something I would anticipate at Valentino. It's a pretty big corporation, right? So that's pretty cool. And then you go from Valentino, you go to Stuart Weitzman. I feel like it's a very different company. What was that transition like?
Very different. Oh gosh, that's a good question. So so Stuart Weitzman had just been acquired by Coach, and so
Okay.
this was like it was like day zero of
Okay.
being Tapestry. And Stuart Weitzman was a very small name and a much larger nameplate. So actually, in many ways, I kind of got the best of both worlds. That was like, and also when I say Valentino, like I was specifically Valentino US, so I wasn't even like corporate headquarters in Milan. So it's kind of like, I won't say like Valentino US was like kind of the Wild West because it wasn't, but it was definitely like we had a little more leeway to do what we
Mhm.
wanted.
Mhm.
Whereas at Stuart Weitzman, like it was like global HQ. But with that said, smaller nameplate and a much larger organization. And so I got kind of like the nimbleness of being at a smaller company, but I got all the best practices of working for Coach. And what was so great about Coach, which is like one of the best companies in the world, I'm obsessed with like Coach, the brand, and like what they have done to build the empire that they are today. They kind of like, in absorbing Stuart Weitzman, they were like, oh, like, you guys, you're going to do this now. Like, it's much more efficient and it's going to be a lot better. And so seeing like, Valentino was running CRM like off of an Excel sheet and then being absorbed into Coach. And they were like, no, we have systems for that.
Yeah.
And
Use
it's going to be way
Salesforce.
better.
Yeah.
So I learned so much. But then with that said, because we were so small and like Coach is like worth $1 billion and Stuart Weitzman was like a couple $100 million. It was easy for us to kind of get away with doing some stuff quickly and not being a part of the larger machine, but still getting to learn a lot from the larger machine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love that experience. I feel like, yeah, as I said, full circle, obviously going back to fashion, which you kind of started your career in. So you mentioned you go to BCG after HPS, and then you are doing all these retail projects. Were you doing a lot of like alcohol, like food and beverage projects, or was it more like fashion? What was your experience like there?
Yeah. So I actually, before I started at BCG, I told them, I was like, hey guys, I have started this vodka company. I want to be transparent about it because someone had told me that I might get in trouble, like if I didn't tell
Yeah.
them before I
It's like the
started.
outside business activity
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, exactly. And so BCG, they kind of understandably, they were like, okay, we're not going to put you on any alcohol cases because that could be a conflict. The deal that I had with BCG was that they were like, you can sell through your inventory while you're here. You just can't do any new production rounds. So my workaround was that I just did an enormous production run before I started at BCG so that I had all this inventory to be able to sell while I was there. So unfortunately, was not able to be on alcohol cases, which at the time I was super interested in and much more interested in than fashion because, mind you, it was 2020. I don't know about anyone else, but like I had been wearing the same sweatpants for like
Yeah,
2 weeks. So
totally.
I was like, fashion is dead. Alcohol is in. Like
Yeah.
I'm over fashion.
Yeah.
And so I was a little crushed, but I understood that I couldn't work in this space that I had really fallen in love with. But then I settled for like my number two, which was fashion. So I got to, and I was very adamant with the BCG people of being like, I only want to work in retail or I'll settle for consumer more broadly. But like, if you put me in healthcare,
Yeah.
like
I'm out.
you're
I'm
not,
out.
you're not
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
get
yeah.
anything
yeah,
for
you're
me.
for sure.
Yeah.
And they were great, which I am grateful for.
Yeah.
So I only did consumer. And of course, the fun thing about consulting is like you see all these different companies experiencing all these different problems, and so it certainly doesn't make you like an expert in any specific problem, but you learn so much each case about like what leaders should be doing. So it was a great. I wish that I wish I it's it's a tough thing to reflect on because like I wouldn't change anything about how Harridan went. But I do wish, I don't know, the universe, I could have spent more time at BCG because I had been learning so much. But I wouldn't, with that said, I wouldn't change
Yeah.
anything.
And you graduated in 2020, like
Yep.
in the thick of it.
Yeah.
So when did you launch Harridan? Like during school?
Yeah, so launched Harridan. So we were like incorporated in May of 2020,
Oh,
and then
wow.
the BCG also their deal. I hope no one from BCG like listens to this. But then the deal that they also had was like you need to sell your first bottle before you start here, like to prove that I don't like in so many words, like prove that it's in market. So I was racing to sell my first bottle before starting at BCG. So I still remember the first bottle or first case hit shelves December 7th it was.
Oh,
And I think I
wow.
started at BCG like December 13th or
Oh,
something.
wow.
So it was
Honestly,
like,
good timing. Picked up the holiday.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, hey,
exactly.
so maybe a deadline was a
Yeah,
good
that's
thing.
awesome.
yeah. And I sent all my friends and family to buy it. And so for a while I was getting calls from liquor stores being like, I can't believe we need more. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like inflated demand right
Yeah.
now, but I'm not going to tell you that. So.
Yeah. And I guess what was the process like? Because it seems like you launched, I guess, in May.
Yeah.
And then like how did you even find a manufacturer, like even the name, branding? How did
Oh.
you do all that to shelves within 6 months?
Yeah, oh my gosh. And this was like the magic period of Harridan and probably my favorite or every day is a joy with Harridan, but like this period was so much fun because it was just like the dreaming phase of like okay, I want the brand to be like this. Like I'm just going to do it. Like no one I'm my own boss. I can make whatever decisions I want to. So in terms of finding a manufacturer, luckily the alcohol industry was booming during the pandemic, so distilleries were actually pretty willing to take on what would be considered outside clients for contract work. So then it became kind of like, what type of distillery do I want to work with? I knew early on, I was like, I want it to be local. I want it to be using organic ingredients because that to me felt like a differentiator, and it just felt like important in alcohol that feels so inherently bad for you. Like, why not make it organic so people feel marginally better about drinking it? So I knew I wanted to be local, made from New York ingredients, and I knew I wanted those ingredients to be organic. And that kind of naturally distilled it down, or pun intended, to three options. And I really, really wanted this one option because I really liked the team the best. But unfortunately, every time so I'm working with these distilleries, right? And like, of course, there's a lot of taste testing involved, which was also super, super fun.
Like, not too bad. I'm
Yeah,
during
a
COVID
little bit.
too.
I'm like, yeah.
I'd get like my little quarantine pod together and we would like try the different spirits. And this distillery that I really wanted to work with, they send me the first sample and I'm pouring it. At the time it was like just me and who's now my husband, but he was my boyfriend at the time. It was like me and my boyfriend were trying it and we're like, oh my God, this is so good. Like it tastes like water. I was like, we are gonna break the vodka industry because like this literally doesn't taste like anything. And then we started to drink it a little bit more and we were like, it tastes a little too much like water. And then we were like, let's put it in the freezer to test like if it is water because like vodka doesn't
It wouldn't
freeze.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, 30 minutes later, it's like frozen solid. So
Oh,
I
no.
reached out to the
Literally just in water.
I know,
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God,
oh,
that's
that's so
funny.
sad.
Wait, that's hilarious. That's all.
so I
That's so
reached out to
sad.
the distillery that I'm like, I really, really want to work with them. And I'm like, guys, like, I think you sent me water. And they were like, well, your freezer must just be really cold. And I
No
was
way.
like, guy,
That's
and
not how
I
it
went on
works.
Amazon and I bought, it's called a hydrometer. It measures the alcohol content of a liquid. I bought a hydrometer and it like measured 0. And they were like, I think your hydrometer needs recalibrating. And I'm like, oh my God, guys, can you just send me another sample? So they send me another sample and I try it and it was like, and also when I get these samples, I do blind taste tests. It like makes it the most fun. I get all the incumbents, I get the Absolute, Grey Goose, Tito's, everybody. And I try my vodka against all the incumbents. And then I have people vote for whoever their
Cute.
favorite
It's
is.
like
So
like a science fair. If you're science, you know what I'm
It's
talking
Science fair.
Street
People are so
test.
bored during COVID. I had 100% attendance rate. So people showed up and they try the lineup blindly. And there's one that people are like, oh my God, like that one, like I can't take another sip. And so at the end, I did the same thing. I was like, oh, like that one's so gross. I bet that one's like, I'm trying to like
Like
absolute or
absolute.
something.
Yeah.
I was like, it's gonna be like Smirnoff. Like that's
Yeah.
gonna be one of the bad ones. I flip it over, and it's
No.
unfortunately the distillery that I really wanted to work with. And I had gone so far down the road with this, and I was just like staring at the wall, being like, God, what am I gonna do? Like this is 2 samples that have been
Horrible.
such a disaster.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
And then my husband was like, you can't work with these people.
Yeah.
And so then the happy end of that story is I approached a different distiller who I hadn't even explored their options because I was like so excited about this one team. But so I left that team, went to the distillery that we now work with today, Finger Lakes Distilling. And then I brought their samples in, and did the same thing, like blind taste test, blah, blah, blah. And unanimous, the group was like, this one is my favorite. And one of the things that I did was I brought in a bunch of people who weren't vodka lovers.
Oh, that's great.
So I was like, I really want to win people back to the category. So everyone, non-vodka lover, was like, I love this. And so I contacted the distillery, and I'm like, Eureka, like we found it. Like this is our recipe. And they were like, we are so sorry. We accidentally made the vodka overproof. We will not make that same mistake in our final round. Like it'll be exactly 80 proof instead of the 88 proof that we sent you. And it was just a decision in the moment that I was like, like 88 proof, it's differentiated. It feels fun that it's overproof. Like let's just stick with it. Like you won over all these people. Let's not change it. So it's how we settled on the recipe. And then the branding what really fell into place quickly, because my mentality with many, not vodkas necessarily, but many spirits that are either that are targeted by women or what have you, or targeted to women, they tend to be like pink and flowery, and it's like, this is only for girls. And that's just not me. Like my aesthetic, my favorite color or lack of color is black. Like I just am not the pink and flowery person, and many of the women I know are not that person either. And then I think we also are at the point where I'm like, I don't need like a skinny girl wearing a pink dress to tell me that I'm going to like this vodka.
Yeah.
So then I was like, let's make our mascot an angry old lady. And also like, just because I'm a female founder doesn't mean that it's only for women. Like it's a female founded product that's for everyone. So it's fun. The name Harridan was also kind of an accident. Was I had initially really gone down the rabbit hole of doing of wanting it to be called widow vodka, because I was like, it's so badass, and I love the idea. My grandma was a widow, and
very edgy.
Yeah, very edgy.
So like Jane Fonda.
Yeah, and it's like these women have like totally second chapters after their husbands tragically or not die. But then the trademarks were all taken for widow. So I was like setting myself up to be in a trademark war. So I was Googling, I was like, what are other words that like can have the same, and this was before ChatGPT, to my credit, that could give the same vibe. And then I stumbled across this word Harridan, which means an angry, belligerent old woman. I was like, this was just, and the trademarks were all available.
That's awesome.
So I was like, this was just meant to be. And then the branding just fell into place with that.
I mean, I love the branding. I feel like it's so bold, like very independent, like obviously female owned and founded, but it's just so fun. I love all the like Halloween events that you do and the partnerships. So I think it's very different. And how have you been kind of in the early days, like doing the marketing, the branding? This was way before TikTok. I guess Instagram was around, but
early days of TikTok.
Yeah. How did you kind of get the word out about this differentiated vodka?
So the thing about alcohol is that it is so like hand-to-hand combat. And really the way there's 2 channels in alcohol. There's what's called on-premise, which is bars and restaurants. And then there's off-premise, which is liquor stores. And now there are ways to sell direct to the consumer, or at least as it pertains to the consumer experience. So like you can buy Harridan on shopharridan.com. But for the most part, consumers aren't used to buying alcohol online unless it's through like Uber Eats or what was formerly Drizzly or Minibar, whatever. So the main places that consumers buy alcohol are in bars, restaurants, or liquor stores. And so these are much more of our marketing vehicles than really anything online. So how we started to get the word out was we were doing tastings relentlessly. So anytime you go into a liquor store and you see a poor kind soul being like, want to try this tequila or a vodka, like, always say yes. Like, these poor people, there's they're working so hard, and it's like the main marketing vehicle. So yeah, so we did a ton of tastings, and what was fun about that was that Harridan, it tastes so different, and so that was an easy way for us to convert, get sales, and get the word out. Because people would try it and be like, oh my God, that doesn't taste like any vodka that I've ever had. And then moreover, the benefit of that too is that by, of course you have the end consumer, the person buying the vodka, but really the liquor store is your customer as well. Like they're the ones who's buying the vodka from me. And so in that sense, it's like doing right by my customer. Like I'm showing up to help sell this product and get the liquor store excited about it so that when I leave after doing that tasting, and someone comes in and is like, do you know a good vodka? The liquor store is super amped about being like, oh my God, you've got to try this. Like this woman just sold like 12 bottles last week here. So that was thing number one. And then in terms of bars and restaurants, it really felt like the name of the game was getting on cocktail menus. And that did two things. Is that first off, it gave us much needed sales volume because when you're on a cocktail menu, you're moving much faster than if you're just sitting on the back bar. But then number two, when people see the name of your brand on a cocktail menu at high-end establishments, they associate it with having a drink at a high-end establishment. And so one of the ways that we were most determined to get the name out or the word out about Harridan early on was like, we were like, okay, what are the best restaurants in New York? And we need to do whatever we can to first get on their back bars and then get on their cocktail menus. And so with that, like one of our first prime targets was Bemmelman's at the Carlisle, like which felt like
Obsessed.
such a
Oh my God,
such a
obsessed.
no-brainer.
Also, like, love the Widow Harridan vibe
Yes.
from Bellman's.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I
works.
just imagine, like, Anna Winter with, like,
Yep.
vibing at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, do you want,
She's
like,
probably drinking the
Hannah
Harridan
Winter
Yeah,
probably
probably
has
drinking
drank
the Harridan.
that
The
at
Harridan
the bar.
vodka,
Like, do you
yeah.
want to, like, that is the exact clientele. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we were going for. Is like we wanted to be in these like storied establishments. But it is so hard to get into these places in the sense of like I'm not the first liquor brand to be like, I want to get my vodka brand in Bemmelman's. Like
Yeah.
everyone
Of
starts
course.
an alcohol brand and is like, I want to get it in there. So it's like it's really about being persistent, about building relationships and and showing these accounts that like you're not going anywhere. Cause I think a lot of times these accounts are a little jaded by like these flash in the pan brands that are spending a lot of money in a short period of time and then they run out and then the accounts no longer get support. And support, what that can look like is
Like, not shipping on time, having issues with supply chain, not answering the phone, not being
it's
responsive,
actually
not having customer.
more corrupt than that.
What?
And yeah, well, so the dirty reality is that a lot of times the support looks like empty swipes. And so what that would mean
Oh.
is like if I were a rep for liquor brand A and I am sending and like what I would say to an account, I would be like, hey, if you put us on the menu, I will just randomly swipe $1,000. So it's just like $1,000 free dollars for you if you put my brand on your cocktail menu. And so for any business owner, like this is a no-brainer. Like
Yeah,
you're like,
totally.
of course I'm going to do that. But a lot of brands will come out the gate and they'll offer all these swipes. And then as time goes on, they run out of money and they can't fulfill it. And so for Harridan, it was never about doing those swipes, mostly because we also didn't have the unlimited funds to do those swipes. It was really about building the relationship and showing these accounts that like we're really, really differentiated. So this is a partnership. Like we are giving you a vodka that doesn't taste like anything on your shelf. And we are here to support in the sense of like, we will come here, we will bring friends, like we will spend money for drinks, like we will develop a relationship with you. And so that just wound up going a long way, but it takes a really, really long time to get there.
And how was it trying to start an alcohol brand in New York too? I mean, I know it's a bar and restaurant scene, but it's also pretty much the hardest place to sell liquor because of all of the laws and so much competition. It's like the best and the worst. So like, how was that?
Amazing question. And so particular to New York because New York has a specific law where you cannot have chain liquor stores. And so you think of any other state has Total Wines or
Yeah,
ABC,
Beth Mo.
whatever.
I mean, I grew up in California and there's liquor everywhere. I mean, I think you can settle on the corner. I don't know, but it's like, it's in the gas station. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And when
Yeah.
I moved to the East Coast, I was like, what is going on? I was like, why? Yeah. And like, I think New York is even stricter than some other states. I don't know, but
And the reason that makes it so difficult for a brand is like if I had started Harridan in California, I could get a Bevmo deal, and then
Correct.
that's a ton of
And
cash
it's,
that I
yeah,
can then reinvest into the business.
totally.
But in New York, it really, like, no joke, hand-to-hand combat. It's like you have to go liquor store by liquor store in order to sell. And
Wow.
so you can't get that scale that you can get really quickly. And it as as much as it sounds like a curse, it actually wound up being a blessing because it allowed us to like really build those relationships. And I think if we had just like launched into Bevmo or Total Wine all at once, we were a small team and we would have been stretched really thin. So we were able to kind of really focus and go deep in the accounts that we were in rather than be spread so thin. But you're exactly right. Like New York is the most difficult, most competitive market to launch a brand in. But I went in with no knowledge of that. So I was like, oh, where all the cool restaurants are, and like didn't appreciate that really cutting my work out for me.
Yeah. And how had the experience been building Harridan from the ground up when you've always kind of imagined yourself becoming CEO of like an established company? Like how was it different, and what did you, I guess, like about it, and what was very surprising to you?
I learned that I absolutely loved it. Like I had never woken up so excited to work every day than when I started Harridan. And if anything, now when I imagine going to an established company, kind of you talked about needing 5 sign-offs for an email. I'm like, I can't imagine that anymore. Like this would be something like you see an opportunity and you just chase it, and you see, or you also learn like, hey, like this is like $5. I'm not going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on this much bigger opportunity. But when you're at a very bureaucratic company, obviously you're kind of like, I have to focus on this because like my boss told me to focus on it, and you know, you're not the one calling the shots. And it just prevents you from moving really quickly and also like pursuing the things that you're really excited about. And so now I'm the total opposite. I can't imagine working for a huge company. And maybe I'll get to the point where that excites me again, but like right now working at Lingua Franca and it's a team of around 20 people, I'm like, this is big enough. Like this is
That's smaller than I thought.
Yeah. Oh,
very lean.
They've got a big brand and a small team driving it.
It's impressive.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And then I guess tell us a little bit about what you're up to now at Lingua Franca as
Yeah.
CEO.
So about 5 years into Harridan, as I mentioned, it just got to the point where I had extra capacity. I'd really built strong foundation, strong account base. And so I was like, Harridan right now is only taking up a couple hours of my day that's not spent like drinking. And so I am ready to like do
market
something
research.
else. Yeah, no, part of research. It's a
R&D.
part of support.
That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Part of
I mean,
support.
come on.
And so yeah, I met the founder of Lingua Franca actually visiting a Harridan account with my sister, and she was kind of saying where she was like, God, like I've been running this company for 10 years and I just really need support like on the operation side. And it's not like I was raising my hand to be like, oh yeah, like I have a startup and I'm like looking to like supplement that with something else. But as I kind of started asking like, oh, like what does that operational help look like? We kind of just, this like friendship between us unfolded. And where that led was she was just like, would you ever want to come and lead the operations here? And I had so fallen in love with the brand over getting to know her that I was like, what a privilege to be able to like take this brand and usher this brand into its next 10 years. And a little bit about Lingua Franca, the phrase means a common language. And so it is about, they're most famous for like their words on sweaters, but it's really about like bringing people together, giving people a new medium to express themselves on, which is, stitching on cashmere and luxurious knitwear. But it's similar to alcohol. It's a brand about bringing people together. And then it also is a brand that really with that said, it is a brand that really has a strong point of view, which was something that Lingua Franca shares with Harridan. Like Harridan is unabashedly a feminist spirit in all senses. And I think Rochelle would really say the same thing about Lingua Franca in more ways than one. So it felt like, kind of have said this line before, but it kind of felt like same spirit, different bottle a little bit with Lingua Franca. So it's been awesome. So yeah, only about 6 weeks in, but I've really loved it.
Same thing, like very bold. I have the sweater that's like purple and like brown.
What does
and
it
like
say?
stitching. It doesn't say anything.
Oh, okay. We'll have to get you
It's like
a sweater
yeah,
with
yeah,
a phrase on it. But they make great classic knitwear as well.
It was classic.
That's great.
Yeah. So I was like super excited to just kind of see
amazing.
how everything just kind of came together for you.
Yeah.
And then I guess what do you think you'll be doing in like the next 5-10 years? So you think you're still going to be juggling both? Would you start a third or a new company? Work for a third company?
Oh my gosh. I feel like maybe one day I'll have it in me to start another company. I do not foresee that being the next 5 to 10 years. It really is like birthing a child. I don't know, but maybe even more problematic than a child because it like never
grows up.
Yeah, it never grows up. But no, I mean, my goal right now is twofold. It's like with Lingua Franca, Rochelle's done an incredible job, like I mentioned, building this brand for the last 10 years. It's like I want to grow this brand exponentially for the next 10 years, which I'm really excited about. And that looks like launching new categories. It looks like launching in new markets. It looks like launching a real clienteling strategy to build out a strong customer base. Like there's just so much potential in this brand that she's created. And then second, with Harridan, the beauty of alcohol is that I know everyone talks about the kids are like doing shrooms and no one's drinking anymore, but like in my opinion, everything is cyclical. Like alcohol, everyone will realize that this is totally unsubstantiated. So sorry if this gets comments in your podcast, but like if people realize that shrooms rot your brain, then it's going to go back of like, oh, alcohol is like the nostalgic lesser evil that like we should all be consuming instead of these other things.
With weed.
Yeah.
I feel like weed was like evil. And then I mean, this was like the 90, 2000 thing. And then it was like, actually, weed's fine.
Yeah, actually
weed's a lot better for you than alcohol. Like everyone smoke weed instead.
Yeah,
like when
alcohol
like,
is evil.
Is it better? Like I have no idea. Honestly.
Yeah, now everyone's like,
I think they're both just bad and then just different. Like I don't know. I don't think either one of them is good or bad. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but
that's my mentality.
I'm like whatever. Like
I'm not gonna tell you what to do with your body. Consume whatever you want.
Yeah.
But with that, it's like alcohol's not going anywhere. Alcohol demand might not be at its highest right now, but it's not going to go to zero for the foreseeable future. And so with Harridan, I want to keep building this, what I view as like an amazing generational brand. And the goal of Harridan has always been to just redefine the standards of vodka and really raise the bar for what a vodka can be. And as long as there are bars that exist that have a top shelf that needs a vodka brand, like Harridan will always exist as well. And so with Harridan, it kind of like, I don't know, it feels so long game to me that I'm like, yeah, like Harridan's going to be around for the next 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like it's going to always be around. So long-winded answer to your question, in 5 to 10 years, I view myself as doing the exact same thing that I'm doing today, maybe with a little stronger footing in both.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you have a goal for Harridan to get like acquired and then you'll run that company? I mean, obviously you have ambitions to be an executive. Is that like your ideal thing? Or do you feel like it is this very nice like luxe brand, right? So you also don't necessarily have to grow it anymore for it to be successful. Like what would you prefer?
That's a great question. And when I first started Harridan, that was unabashedly my goal. I was like, I want to grow this. I want to get acquired. I want to be a bajillionaire like George Clooney. Like that's all I want. But then the more that I grew it and the more that I learned about kind of those deals those acquisitions that were occurring throughout the market, kind of the less adamant I became about that being the only exit for Harridan. And so, I mean, hey, if Diageo knocked on my door and was like, here's $1 billion for Harridan, I would be like, here you go, ta-ta. But I think telling my younger self, or one thing I would tell my younger self is like, that doesn't have to be the only way, because right now in alcohol, the M&A activity has really, really slowed. And if anything, my interpretation that a lot of the M&A activity right now is a little bit more distress driven rather than not.
Growth.
Yeah, exactly. And so I don't want that for Harridan. It's like, I don't need that for Harridan. I'll keep kind of growing it and sustaining it myself. And then if there ever is any interest, I'll have the conversation, but I'm not gonna. There was a lot of because we had conversations with conglomerates over the course of Harridan on a potential deal or investment, and the growth targets that they were putting for us to achieve were just not ones that were good for the brand. It would look like buying those sales of like offering the empty swipes, and it would look like growing in not a sustainable way, and not a way that was good for relationships, which is what we had always prioritized. So a non-answer to your question would maybe, like, if the right deal came along, yes, but I'm not actively searching for it.
And obviously, coming from a retail background, what do you think you learned kind of the most in order to build this brand? Like, what was kind of the biggest crossover between, Harridan and obviously kind of your luxury retail background and current?
That customers are everything.
Yeah.
And I think I feel like I see some people posting now like, see, the customer isn't always right. And that's not justifying that like a customer like should abuse someone, because of course they
Yeah, of
shouldn't. But I think
course.
there is like, I think my biggest thing is just like a really, really foundational gratitude to customers, that like without customers, like no consumer or no one anywhere or no business anywhere would be anything. But especially in consumer, that's so about like a brand identity and like connecting with a customer, and a customer being like, oh wow, like I want this brand to like be a part of my self-expression. Like that's a very personal relationship that's difficult to forge. And so that started off in like my early CRM and customer loyalty days at Valentino and Stuart Weitzman. It was like customers are everything, and making sure that those customers feel appreciated and like it is everything in itself. And then I think within those positions, being so focused on the loyalty aspect, you realize that like if you invest in a customer's loyalty, like it pays, like it's good for business, and there's no downside to it. Yeah. So with Harridan, that was my mindset that I really adopted, was like the customers are everything, and not just the end customer, but the liquor store customer, the bar customer, the restaurant customer. Like they're everything to this business, and we have to do whatever we can to make sure that they're happy and that we know that we appreciate them.
Yeah, you're building a community, and community is
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So.
No, so true.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel like I learned so much about you in the last hour than the last few years that I've known you.
Go and drink Harridan right
know,
now.
oh my God,
I'm
gonna
like,
get you.
I'm like,
I
oh my
can't
God,
believe
I'm
I
such a
didn't
No,
vodka
it's
girl.
all
good.
It's
I'm so
I am
excited.
not a
It's
vodka
okay.
girly,
Well,
and
you-
I will drink
exactly.
Harridan.
But you'll win
Yeah.
her
I think I told
over.
you that before. I was like, I don't like vodka, but I love Harridan.
And that's it. Well, what
'Cause it
vodka
doesn't
do you
taste like-
normally drink?
vodka.
Honestly, I like Kettle One.
Oh, okay. So I will caveat, you're the one consumer that in our studies we do not win over, because
I'm
Kettle
sure I'll
One,
like it. I like all the vodkas.
Okay, Kettle
Honestly.
One, people are very particular.
Oh,
People are
really?
very
I mean, I
particular.
like Kettle One the best, but like I'm
Yeah.
flexible. I like
Yeah, I
Grey
feel like you're
Goose too.
pretty
I like
flexible.
Tito's.
Okay,
Like,
okay.
I mean, but if they ask, I'll say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If people are like, I only drink Kettle, I'm like, ooh, Harridan, because it has a lot of flavor. So I'm always
Yeah.
like, Kettle One, I think wins as like the least flavorful in a way that
Totally.
they strive to be.
Yes.
Whereas we are the opposite. We're like super flavorful, kind of
Mhm.
err a little bit more on the side of like a gin.
Yeah.
Without the botanicals. So anyways, I will say that as a warning.
I'm
If
sure
you
I'll
come
like
back
it.
and you're like, Harridan was terrible, it will not be the first time
No.
I've heard that from a
No,
Kettle
I'm
One
sure I'll
So
consumer.
we will go to
like it. I'm
Bemelman's and we'll
positive.
drink a lot of
Exactly.
The
martinis.
Bemelman's martini right
It's
now
so
is so
good.
good.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, I guess I have had it because I've had the Bevelman's martini. So I guess I've
It's
had it.
specifically, what's it called right now?
Yeah, because it changes names,
It changes
right?
names.
Okay.
Oh my God.
It's like second or third on the menu. I could picture
Yeah,
it.
it's so yeah. This season, I forget what it's called, but it's amazing. It's like a banana
Ooh.
martini. It's
Ooh.
so good. It's
Okay,
so good.
on the list. We gotta
Yeah.
go.
for R&D or
Yeah.
for market research.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Market
literally
research,
market research
exactly.
and supporting our founders. We
support.
love supporting our
Thank you
founders.
so much.
Speaking of, this was an amazing episode. We always end on this question. We have a lot of young listeners. What advice would you give a young person who's looking to start their own business?
This is so corny, but like believe in yourself. And the reason that I say that is because when I first started Harridan, I had so many people tell me that this brand will never work. I had people be like, women don't buy their own alcohol. So like
What?
coming
What?
out, yeah,
What?
like, literally like
That's the craziest one I've heard.
and it was like liquor store owners being, because I in my market research, I talked to liquor store owners and be like, this is the brand that I'm coming out with. Do you foresee there being a place for this brand on your shelf? And they'd
women
be like,
in New York
no.
City don't buy their own
Yeah, like women don't buy their own alcohol.
What?
And so many people just casting so much doubt. And if I had listened to all those people, I would have never gotten it off the ground. And then now we're in like over 1,000 liquor stores and liquor stores that place reorders and that love carrying us and we're their only luxury vodka that they have. And I have so many examples of that. But just like, you know, I guess do the research and get other opinions, but like follow your gut because that's what matters. And no one is going to be able, if you're looking to found a company, no one is going to be able to sell your product more or better than you. So make sure that you believe in it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that. Well, thank you so much,
Yes.
Bridgette. This was awesome. Where can we find you? Where can we find Harridan?
Oh, love that. Okay, you can find Harridan at many establishments throughout New York City or / New York State. So if you want to know the place closest to you, if you go to harridan.com / stockists, you can see where we're there. But if you want to just order online because that's more convenient, do shopharridan.com. Or and also follow us on Instagram
Yes.
at Harridan Vodka.
That's amazing. Well,
Yay.
thank you so much for coming on. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for listening. You can find us at Woman's Plain Pod on all socials and hello at womansplainpod.com if you have any questions. And thanks so much. And everyone, drink Harridan. Thanks for
Harridan.
listening.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
This
it's so
was fun.
amazing.